So the newest episode of The Walking Dead was actually very entertaining for a lot of different reasons. New Best Friend is probably one of my favorite episodes of season 7 so far, and it's mainly one of my favorite episodes because it was just extremely enjoyable and extremely fun. I loved the intrigue going into this episode. We didn't know why Rick was smiling in the previous episode at the end of it, and we didn't quite know how Rick was going to interact with this new group, but I really liked how they revealed who this new group was without sort of delving into who they actually were. They kept their background sort of vague, and I like that because it's nice to um, meet a group where their intentions aren't clear and we don't know if we can trust them because until now the groups have been pretty straightforward. Of course, the group at Oceanside, they're very volatile. They wanted to kill Tara. The Hillside was very receptive, and the kingdom was receptive as well. They weren't really hostile, but it was nice to have sort of this in between type of group. We didn't know if these guys, this junkyard group, was going to be sort of more like the saviors and more like the kingdom. And so going into this, it was very interesting. But surprisingly, the episode doesn't open with the result or sort of the resolution of the cliffhanger from last week. The episode opens with Daryl and Richard going to set up a trap for the Saviors along the highway. Basically, their plans to take them out. But the part of the plan that Daryl figures out later is that the real plan of Richard is to get these Saviors on the trail of Carol and get Carol involved so that Ezekiel will finally wake up and join. Of course, Daryl's not okay with this when he figures out that Carol does it. Carol's involved with the plan and she's put at risk, so he basically beats up Richard and they get into a brawl and he prevents his plan from going through. And Daryl eventually, we'll see, will meet up with Carol. But before that can happen, it zooms over to the junkyard and we figure out that Gabriel had been taken by this group. And Rick sees this whole situation as an opportunity to get this new group of warriors or soldiers to help him out. But Rick must prove himself, and the main leader of this group basically tells Rick to go to the top of the junk pile, and she tells him to go up, up, up. And her name's Jardis, and she's very interesting. She's very she can be compared to Spock or Tilda Swinton. She's very I don't know, she's very calm and collective and mysterious, and I love that about her character. So Jardis basically sends Rick to the top of this pile and shoves him into this pit where she has to fight Winslow, who's this spiked walker, who's, the fight with Winslow is very entertaining, even though it was short-lived, because Winslow is basically this walker with a ton of spikes in him. Rick eventually uses the garbage pile next to him to kill Winslow, or at least pin him down so he can cut off his head with a piece of glass. And so he's basically proven himself to this group. And Jardis says, "We will help you take down the Saviors if you get us guns." And so Rick is happy. He's made an alliance. He's sort of on the up and up by the end of the episode. And what I really liked about all the junkyard scenes, we saw Father Gabriel sort of step up and take a stand and sort of support Rick, and he even said at one point Rick can do anything. So we've really seen a complete turnaround of Father Gabriel, which has been wonderful to see, and he's actually one of my favorite characters at least by the end of this episode. So we have that resolution there. Rick's got this group that's going to help him out if he can get the firearms to them. But then, before the end of the episode, we zoom back and see Daryl having a reunion with Carol, and it's very emotional, it's very heartfelt, just like we had expected to be, and it's very heavy, especially compared to the junkyard stuff. And we see Daryl realize that he can't tell Carol what happened, or else she's going to lose herself. And so Daryl holds back the information, whether that's smart or whether that's not. And then we see Daryl go back to the kingdom and sort of contemplate what he needs to do next, and have a little conversation with Morgan about how he still believes, even despite seeing Carol, that the kingdom needs to help Alexandria in the fight against the Saviors. And the episode ends there. But it was a very great episode. I really love New Best Friends. There's a lot of intrigue going into this episode, and it didn't diminish really by the end of the episode either. I loved the Daryl-Carol dynamic, and I loved how Daryl took down Richard, or beat him up whenever Richard was talking about using Carol as bait. We've seen their relationship grow throughout the series, and it's really nice to see them have that sort of reunion here. I love the intriguing new group, and I especially love the leader Jardis. She was played wonderfully, and the thing is, this group isn't in the comics, so it'll be interesting to see how they play into this season. I loved the Winslow kill. I loved Winslow as a walker. He was just so cool. We haven't seen a walker this cool since probably the Well Walker, and I love seeing that fight between him and Rick, sort of the gladiator-esque fight. I love seeing Gabriel sort of stepping up this episode too, because we've seen him in past weeks sort of just be behind be sidelined and sort of, be wishy-washy. Hey, I'll help Rick in the group one day, but the next day maybe I'll flee and protect myself. So it was really cool to see him step up. But the only thing that bugged me a little bit is I was having a conversation with somebody, and Richard's plans keep failing, and my friend, he said, Richard's the only one who makes any sense. He's really trying to get everything. And as much as I like Daryl's defense of Carol, I kind of deep down low-key wish that Richard's plan would have gone through, because I want to see the kingdom get involved with the conflict sooner rather than later. I think they don't need to stretch that conflict too far or spread too thin. So Richard's failure, I think, was a positive part of this episode, but there's also sort of a negative part of this episode. But overall, I love New Best Friends. So out of 10, I'd have to give New Best Friends an 8.7. I hope you've enjoyed this review for The Walking Dead. I hope you've enjoyed my reviews for this season of The Walking Dead. Remember to like and subscribe for more Walking Dead content. This has been Josie from Joneser TV, bringing you the review and recap, signing off.